Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello friends, welcome to our course Marketing Management Part 2, and I am Shashi Shekhar Mishra, and I am jointly offering this course along with my senior colleague Prof. Jayanta Chatterjee. We are discussing about our pricing module, and we are discussing about how to set prices, and before that we have looked into the different aspects of this concept or the module or one of the elements of the marketing mix, which is pricing. So, I will give you a quick recap of what we have discussed till now. We started discussing about the strategic role of the pricing in this marketing mix or in the entire marketing strategy, and then we started discussing about how we set the prices. So, we have looked into the different steps of the pricing thing, and then we have already discussed about when we start setting the prices, the first thing is that setting the objectives or understanding the objectives of the pricing, and then looking into the demand function, and then we look into then the third thing is that we are discussing currently is estimating the cost, and then once we estimate the cost, then we look into this competitors pricing mix, then we basically choose the pricing method, and then finally we fix the price. So, these are basically the six steps in the pricing method or setting the prices. Now, we have discussed about the different pricing objectives, then we have also looked into the last session estimating the demand. We have looked into in depth about this demand function, which is demand and the pricing relationship, how the demand changes with the price, and that is where we have also understood this concept of price elasticity of the demand, that how the changes in the price will lead to the changes in the demand. So, wherever the changes in the price lead to the sharp change in the demand, that is the proportion of the change in the price lead to a greater change in the demand, we call that that demand is basically elastic, or if you can recall the formula, the value of E, that elasticity is greater than 1. On the other side, wherever your demand does not changes with that the price change, we call it an inelastic demand. We have also looked into the fact that E equals to 1 represent this unitary elasticity, which is like the change in the price will leads to equal amount of the change in the demand. So, the revenues will remain constant. If you increase the price, the demand will reduce by the similar proportion, and overall revenue will remain constant in that case. So, with this we have started looking into the fact that marketeers will be interested into the situation where customer will exhibit less price sensitivity towards their offerings. So, the fact that which are the products or which are the situation where the customer will exhibit less price sensitivity, you can recall I have discussed about wherever this product is distinctive, the customers will exhibit less price sensitivity, because they will have a very clear cut, distinctive, likable image of a product, and that is why this price sensitivity is less. The other cases are like you do not have a substitute of that product. In that case also you will find out the price sensitivity is less, or the cases where a product is seen as basically a product of luxury or social status, there also customers will exhibit less price sensitivity, because the product is attached with esteem, and quality is also linked with the price. So, the more the price, the better the social status or the esteem that a customer derives from that product. So, in those cases you will see that the price sensitivity is less. We have also discussed about some of the cases like in the purchase situation, where the instead of the consumer or the person who is consuming that product or the service, if the third party is basically the agency which is providing the the payment for that offering, in those cases also the this price sensitivity will be less. Then after this determining the demand, the next thing that we started talking about was the cost. So the estimating the cost. Now estimating the cost is something which is very important in the pricing perspective, in the sense like if you cannot accurately assess the demand and the cost, your pricing is most likely not to be correct. In the sense your prices will not reflect the amount of cost that you are incurring. Either your pricing will be very high or it will be very less compared to your cost, and your margins will be very thin, and in those cases what will happen is that ultimately it is going to affect the revenues and the profit of that organization. So the accurate measurement of the cost is very important, but you will also understand that very accurate or very objective measure of the cost are also very difficult to gather. So you, on the one side it is very important and you will try to maximize the accuracy of your costing. On the other side you will also understand that costing per unit basis is a difficult task for a marketeer or whomsoever in a pricing department is doing that job. So with that we have started looking into this fact that the cost includes the fixed cost and the variable cost. Fixed cost is something which does not change with the unit or the volume of the production, it remains constant. The cost like the cost the wages or the cost of the fixed cost of the plant and the machinery, they will remain constant with the volume of the production. So fixed cost is constant to a particular activity level, and that is what I in the last class I have shown that it indicates a kind of step function. And then we have also talked about this variable cost like raw material, the cost of the processing like the cost of electricity, the cost of water in a typical manufacturing sector. So these are the things which goes with every unit. So the more the number of units you produce, the more the unit cost that you incur in producing those things. So those are the variable costs. Now we have also seen that unit fixed cost goes down very sharply as the number of units that we produce increases, because that fixed cost gets divided with the more the number of units that we produce. So we have started looking into the last class where we have ended was the average total cost. Now average total cost is basically the total cost divided by the units of the output, and here you will see that in this equation I have bifurcated this total cost in this total fixed cost plus total variable cost, and you will see that again this equation is solved out and you will get that average total cost is average fixed cost plus average variable cost. Now you will see that as the more the number of units you produce, your average fixed cost will go down, so that will result in a lower total cost. On the other side variable cost will remain same. So here this is a graphical representation of what happens with of different types of cost that we incur in the production of a product. So you will see that on the y axis you have the cost or the rupees as I have indicated, on the x axis you have the quantity. So as your quantity increases, you will see that in the case of fixed cost it goes down to the initial decline in the fixed cost is sharp, but after a particular point, that inflection point, you will see that the cost does not changes that sharply. On the other side, your total variable cost is like is basically inverted U shape, and you will see that the average total cost difference, the difference between average total cost and the average variable cost is equivalent to this average fixed cost. So this difference goes down as the two approaches on the higher side of the quantity, because your fixed cost difference goes down, so average total fixed cost difference goes down. What happens to cost in the long run is also exhibited here. So you will see that there are three levels of output where the cost behavior changes. So the first part of this graph is like economies of scale. I am not going into much of the depth of some of these concepts, because you can refer to a good economic subject book, and there you can learn more about them. But you will understand, for our purpose we just need a little bit about it. So, you will understand the first part of this long run cost curve is economies of scale, and the second part is the constant cost, and the third part is basically diseconomies of scale. So, in the first part, economies of scale is basically the part where your fixed cost goes down very sharply. As the more the number of unit that you produce, your fixed cost, the unit fixed cost goes down, and that is where this economies of scale is achieved. Then you have a level of constant cost, and after that you have diseconomies of scale. It is said that once you come in this region, the cost of producing the large number of output, managing the different plants or managing different operations. So, the cost of the coordination also increases in disproportionate level, and that will basically result in the increase in the unit cost in this way. Another important aspect that we need to understand from a marketeer's point of view is that cost and experience curve. So, this is something which is very critical, that as a two player, if you are someone who is staying in the market for a longer time, or if your production levels are on a higher side, so you will understand that you will be in a more advantageous situation, because as more the number of units that you produce and the longer the time you have you are in this process of producing something, you will start learning. Your learning curve will be very high, and in that case what will happen is that your unit cost will come down because of this learning curve, because you will understand better methods of the production, you will understand the better ways of managing your inventory, you will understand better way of basically logistics and the distribution, you will understand in fact the better way of promoting the product. So, in that case what will happen is that your unit cost of this production will go down because of this experience, and that is where it is said that in marketing that a new player should try to avoid to get into this price war with the existing players, because an existing player will have more experience in terms of producing a particular product. So, they will be higher on the learning curve, and their costs will be less. In fact, if you get into the price war with a big player which is already there in that particular market for a longer time, you might be in a dangerous situation, because they will have a lower unit cost compared to you because of their learning curve and because of their number of units being produced. And in that case your margins will be less, and your ability to sustain in the market will be less, or sometimes it will happen that such kind of players will prompt you to get into the price war, and if you get into the price war, ultimately you will lose in the market. One important thing from this point of this experience curve is that that a customer from a customer's point of view is that they will eventually see that decline in the price of many product, because the cost of the production of the product goes down as basically the more number of units are produced. So, another important concept that I am going to talk about today is this break even analysis. So, break even analysis is performed in most of the cases, in most of this pricing design of the pricing is because we need to understand that how many units we need to sell in the market to break even, or to basically take out all the cost that we are incurring in the production or in the selling of the particular product. So, break even is a point in terms of the number of units sold, where your revenues are equal to cost, and thus profit is equals to 0. So, here in this equation I have shown that profit is equals to price minus variable cost multiplied by demand minus fixed cost. Now, you will see that as I say that as a break even is a point where your profit is equals to 0, and that is what I have solved this equation here, that if I put the price this profit equals to 0 in this profit equation, you will get this demand is equivalent to break even point, and your break even point is fixed cost divided by price minus variable cost. This price minus variable cost we also say the contribution margin. So, you will understand that the break even is fixed cost divided by contribution margin. You will see that now it is important to understand the utility of this equation, in the sense that wherever our fixed cost is high, you will see that in those industries lot of players will try to increase their contribution margin, because this price minus variable cost will try to increase, so that they can they can recover their fixed cost as early as possible. So, from that perspective it is very important. I have made an example here for you to understand, then I will come back to this graph again, that this break even analysis I have tried to made for one small unit which is into manufacturing of something. Now, you will see that components of the fixed cost that we have talked in the previous two sessions, that wages are equivalent to $1000, marketing and administrative cost is $250, then equipment cost is, installation cost is like $650. So, the total fixed cost in this case is $1900. On the other side, when we talk about the variable cost per unit produced, then the raw material cost around $7, the processing cost is $4. So, the total variable cost is the sum of raw material plus processing cost. For the sake of simplicity, I have just looked into the few components of the cost inside the fixed cost as well as variable cost. So, the fixed cost per unit is $11 and the total fixed cost is $1900. Now, you will see to break even, so $11 was the variable cost. Now, accordingly understanding that my cost has to be at least $11 to at least get some margin, some contribution margin to recover the fixed cost, I have calculated the break even point for different price points. So, supposedly if I price this product at $15 per unit, now what happens is I need to have 475 units to break even. In the case of $20, I will need basically the 211 units. So, you see that there is a sharp decline. Then basically if I go from 20 to 25, again $5, the decrease in this number of unit is not that sharp like what it was from 15 to 20, or you can see probably the better way in this to understand this is this through this graph. You will see that initially you will see that there is a sharp decline, but after a particular point you do not get basically the similar level of advantage of in terms of the number of units that you have to produce. So, with this basically I go back here and you will see that the more that the contribution margin you have, the lesser the number of units that you have to sell or the produce to break even. Now, you will see that in this graph I have made and shown that until and unless you are not reaching to this break even point, you will be in the loss region. On the other side, once you cross this break even point, your profits will increase, and your profits will increase as your total revenue, or the more the number units you are selling after your break even point, you will make more, your contribution margin will directly contribute to the total profit. So, your profits will increase from their point onwards. So, the last point I am going to talk about in today's session is that we have talked about the pricing objective, we have talked about determining the demand, and we have also looked into much more detail about estimating the cost of what are the different types of cost, what are their behaviors. So, all those things we have looked into. Then basically one important thing that as a marketeer you need to understand in your designing of pricing program is that what will be the competitive reaction to your changes in the price. So, wherever whichever point you are or whatever point of your introduction in terms of the price is, what will be the competitive reaction. And as I have already said in this beginning of this session and some of the previous session also, that you will see that within the same industry sectors the competitors will not price in a similar way. Everybody will not try to match you in terms of the price, or their pricing behavior will not be, or their pricing strategies will not be same. This is because, mainly because a competitor will be pricing according to his pricing objective. He will look into the various a large number of variables that will contribute to his pricing. So, he will look into his production facility, so he will look into his cost, he will look into his pricing objective, he will also look into the kind of brand that they are offering. So, within the same industry, if two competitors are there and they are offering similar kind of product, but one has a stronger brand compared to the other one. So, in that case, the one who holds the stronger brand will probably not like to get into the price war, and they will probably come out with a different kind of pricing scheme. So, these are the important thing one needs to understand in terms of the competitive strategy or the competitive pricing. And one of the examples I have tried to shown here is that basically a very simplified scenario where there are only two players in the market, and in this kind of market it is your firm and your competitor is there. Now, the current situation in this market is you and your competitor both have this 50-50% market share, that both are selling 200 units and your current prices are like rupees 100 per unit for that particular product. Now, what happens is, if you are standing in this situation and you are thinking about different scenario, so these are the possibility which might exist. What will happen is you can go upward or you can go on the back side of this horizontal 2 by 2 matrix. You will see that if you increase if you decrease the price, that is the situation, you cut the prices by 20%, you come to a price point of 80 rupees, you may see that you are more attractive to your competitors offering in terms of the price. If your product is not very inferior to your competitor, or more or less it is same, then you will see that lot of competitors, the customers might switch to you. So, you are in a situation where you will be selling out of 400 350 units, while your competitors might be selling 50 units. Or for that matter, if your competitor changes, cuts the price, basically this is an alarming situation. You will see that here in this case the competitor will start selling 350 units and you will be in a situation where you will be selling 50 units. Now, what happens is, whichever player changes the price, whichever player cuts the price, the other one will also think of changing the price point also. Now, what happens if your competitor will also cut the price and you also cut the price, and both of you reaches to rupees 80, and both of the, in that case the total market is, if the total market demand does not change with the change or decrease in the price, you will see that both of you are in a worse situation. So, together both of you will be selling the similar number of units, but your margins will go down drastically. So, assessing this customer's reaction towards your price change is an important consideration in designing this pricing scheme of your organization. So, with this point I will stop in this session, and when we will meet in the next session, and the last two session we will talk about choosing the pricing method and some of the other issues, or what should be the exact price point, and then we will also look into the some kind of innovation in the pricing methods or the different kinds of pricing which are existing in today's market. We will talk about that, and we will conclude this pricing module through the last two sessions which are remaining in this module. Thank you very much.